Okay, good morning. How's everybody doing? So, testing out a new setup and new phone today. All right, so this is Paint with Lovejoy, and just refreshing the screen, making sure everything shows up for you guys. Excellent. All right, so this is Paint with Lovejoy, and this is our daily demo. So, a little bit of what you're looking at on your screen. We've got our paint color choices of today, and then I'm working on an 8x10 panel. Some of you may be on a stretched canvas where it's a little bit taller. So if you're on a stretched canvas, when we reach our color to the edge, I recommend kind of carrying it around the side just to make it look nicer. And we also have our composition already on our canvas. So you've got two options for this. You can pause the video, draw what you see, and then pick up the video for the painting portion. Or there's a link in the description box below. You can purchase what we call a traceable, download it, print it out, and then with carbon paper, you transfer it to your surface. And for my first time painters, this is a nice way to get your composition on the canvas without freaking out of trying to draw and jumping right into painting. And it doesn't matter which one that you use, if you're using the traceable or if you draw it freehand, just do whatever is comfortable for you. On a side note, the traceable is generally, when you transfer it, it's a lot lighter. So I go over mine with Sharpie marker for you guys at home that do want to pause the video and draw what you see. So when you transfer yours, it will not be that dark. All right, we've got quite a few people jumping on. Excellent. So we got Chloe and Denise and Rhonda and Tammy. Thanks so much for joining me. And awesome, Chloe, that you've been camping at Tybee. I was quite happy for this recommendation because I am a SCAD graduate. I went to Savannah College of Art and Design, so I spent a good amount of time on Tybee Island, so I really liked it. All right, and hi, Charlene. Thanks for jumping on. All right, so what we're going to do for today's painting, and you have full permission to switch out colors. I am going to give a pretty bold blue background here, maybe just a little bit lighter here and gets darker. And then the Tybee Island Lighthouse is quite distinctive in its color combo. It's black on the top, we got white, and then it's got a cool little house with a red roof. And that, like I said, that is distinctive of Tybee Island. And then we have a few little palm trees that we'll put in, and then grass down here at the bottom. So like I said, if you want to switch out colors, you are more than welcome. If you prefer to do a sunset color or pastel color for your sky, go right ahead. So like I said, I'm going to keep this a pretty intense blue just because I remember how blue the skies are in the picture that I am referencing. It is that really pretty blue, but make it any shade. So while you're painting, and if you're a first-time painter, try a few different brush strokes. You got the full width of the brush, or you can turn it sideways a little bit skinnier, or the favorite, most stress-relieving one is literally making X marks. So whichever one that you end up liking, go for that. And if you have to mix your color a second, third, or fourth time, don't stress about getting the exact same shade every time. In your sky and in your background, it's actually to your benefit to have some variety and some diversity. And once we fill this space in, I'll talk about some wet on wet blending that you can kind of play with and change your color directly on your canvas. All right, and just using kind of the edge of the brush as I come up to the perimeter of our lighthouse. And since our lighthouse is going to be kind of shades is black, but we're actually going to paint it shades of dark gray, if you happen to get a little bit of this blue paint overlapping that area, the other paint, the black paint, will compensate and cover it up. So with acrylic paint, there's really not too many mistakes in art, and if you paint something that you don't like, you just let it dry and paint over it again. Now with this video and any video on my channel, you don't have to do acrylic paint with this. You can actually use crayons or markers or watercolors, pastels. I believe it's more important for you to just get creative rather than having the perfect materials. So don't put off painting or getting creative just because you don't have the right supplies. Or you think you don't have the right supplies. All right, so, and I am on a new setup, so I've got the new phone. It's a little bit of a wider view, and even a setup. And I'm able to see the pictures and the comments a little bit quicker, so it's nice. Nice, and glad, Gwen, that you and your grandson did one of the tutorials. Love that you guys are painting, and glad you joined the Facebook page, yeah. So if anybody wants to join the Paint with Lovejoy Facebook page, there is, or Facebook group, there's a link in the description box below. And I really just kind of encourage people to post what you're painting. I jump on there every 2 or 3 days, leave new pictures, leave a lot of pictures of the demos, and then respond to any comments or questions. So just another resource for you to utilize. So on our painting today, there was a little section, a little line right here that I had put for the foliage perimeter. I'm going to go ahead and just paint right on top of that. So by the time we put our foliage, this blue will be pretty dry. So that green and the yellow will go right on top of it. So as you are painting, and I am keeping with kind of a solid same color, you may notice some different variations. Like you may notice where it's a little bit lighter, maybe a little bit darker. That is coming from two things. That's coming from the pressure of your brush and the quality of your paint. So I'm using student grade paint. This channel is geared towards first-time and beginner painters, so I want to demonstrate and paint with what I recommend that you paint at home. And student grade paint is a bit on the transparent side, so you've got two options. You can apply it a little bit thicker, and when you apply it thicker, come in with your brush at like a 45-degree angle and play with the thickness of the paint compared to your brush kind of perpendicular and the bristles are touching the canvas. When you do it perpendicular and the bristles are touching the canvas, your brush strokes show up a little bit more. And we call those expressive brush strokes. And for some of the paintings, you may want more expressive brush strokes like a Van Gogh or a Monet. And other paintings, you may want something a little bit smoother. So you can totally change and vary your style. All right, so just filling this in. We got a lot of blue. We got nice bold colors today for our composition. And same on the house. If you happen to paint on the inside of the house with this blue color, it's not the end of the world. And because this is already starting to dry just a little bit, I'm going to apply a little bit more paint, and then I'll talk about a wet on wet blending method that you can play with at home. And you can do this with any color. So if you want an area that's a little bit lighter, I usually wipe the brush off, and then we're going to grab a chunk of that paint. And where you want it lighter, I'm just going to slap that on there. Let's make sure it's on this side too. And wipe that brush off, and you're going to notice that the lighter colors diffuse very, very quickly into the background color. So the more you move your brush on top of this, the more it's going to diffuse, and you'll lose some of that white white pigment. Now it's turning into just a super light blue, and if I moved my brush even more, it would turn into a medium blue. So if you end up doing that and you go, oh, I liked it better when it was a little lighter, just grab more paint and repeat the process, but don't move your brush as much. And this is one of the very therapeutic parts of the painting process. So for this particular composition, remember we do have those lines of trees right there. So I'm going to add more white and bring this lightness up a little bit more, since we will cover the part close to the ground line. And if you're at home and you have the opportunity to let your paint dry, you could actually paint right over the lighthouse, so that way you're keeping your lines very similar all the way across. You're blending. But because this is a demo, I'm not going to do that. But play with that. You know, you can kind of do your background, let it dry, and then do something else on top of it, let it dry. The more that you paint, the more you're building kind of your knowledge for your creative efforts. So if you want a place that's a little bit darker, like at the top, you can put your direct blue in there as well, and same thing. But you'll notice with your darker colors, a little bit of the darker pigment will go a long way. So when you're mixing your blue in with white, a little bit goes a long way. Your red, tiny amount of red goes a long way to make your pinks. And then same thing for your shades of gray. A little bit of black goes a long way to change the color. All right. So get your background to a place that you like, and then we'll move into painting the ground, and then we'll be painting our lighthouse. All right. And yeah, I'm actually really liking this setup. I can see on the video a little bit easier. Do have a little bit of a glare from the lights on my side, but on the video it doesn't look like the glare is showing up too much. So that's good. Always learning and changing and doing new things. So when you're done with your sky, go ahead, clean your brush really good, and we're gonna move into some shade, kind of a medium green, get that base in there. And then, like I said, we do have a black lighthouse, but we're not gonna paint the whole thing black. We're gonna paint it in shades of dark gray. All right, so for our green grass, we're gonna start with yellow, and then we're gonna add a touch of green. All right, and you can have whatever shade. If you want it really light green, if you want it a little bit darker, you get to be the call for that. And we're just gonna go right below our lighthouse and house. And again, I'm on kind of the transparent side with my paint, so I'm applying this a little bit thicker. And then again, if you're on a stretched canvas, remember to carry that color around the bottom. And if you're holding your breath, I forgot to mention that in the background, breathe. Remember to relax. I'm proud of you for painting. Even if you're not painting, just take a deep breath, relax. You could be doing much more stressful things right now than painting or watching a painting video. All right, so we've got our base on there, and I'm just gonna wipe off that excess paint. I'm gonna grab that direct green, and just like we did in the sky, we're gonna add just some darker color on here, and I'm gonna have it towards the bottom. So again, just kind of placing it on there, wipe off that excess paint, and then just play with your pressure as you mix this darker green into the lighter green. And I am keeping kind of light pressure. It's okay if your brush strokes kind of show up. Have fun with it. There really sometimes is no better feeling than just moving paint around on the canvas and just watching how the colors blend together. All right, oh cool, we got a few more people jumping on. Cheryl and Annette. Excellent, and then Denise and Tammy saying hi to them, awesome. All right, and the water looks a really pretty color right now. Okay, so as we move into our lighthouse, if your paint is still wet, mine's still a little bit wet, be very careful as you come up to the edge so that way you don't get any of the blue in there. So I am going to be moving down to a pointy brush and playing with the pressure. And we're going to start on the left-hand side, and we're going to be basically doing our value scale with this. So if you've watched some of the other videos, demos, I've talked about the value scale. So we're going to do pure black right here, dark gray, medium gray, lighter gray. And by doing that, that's going to give us the illusion of this 3D object by having the dark shadow as the pure black, and then kind of the medium to light gray as the lightest. And that gives an indication that the sun is coming from the right-hand side, with the shadow being on the left-hand side. So, whoops, a little bit of water on your brush. We're going to grab that direct black paint, and the left-hand side of the lighthouse, that whole little section is almost going to be kind of like paint by number for this part. And play with the pressure of your brush. A medium to more pressure creates a little bit wider line, and this gets easier and more comfortable with more and more practice. So be kind to yourself. If you need to, kind of put your pinky out, and you can put that somewhere on a dry spot and use that as your pivot point, or rest your forearm against the edge of the table. But give your arm something to kind of steady itself against. And if you find that you are shaky, your brush is shaky as you touch the canvas, that means you're holding your breath. So exhale as you touch your brush to the canvas. All right, we will put a little cap on the lighthouse, but I'm going to let that blue paint dry a little bit more. And let's do this little bottom one too. So we got the left-hand side of the lighthouse, and then these two little rows. We're going to do dark gray in the middle of that. So to make our dark gray, because we're going to work backwards from our darkest to our lightest, I'm going to go up and grab a chunk of that white. And again, kind of doing a little bit of that perimeter mixing. That's too light right there. We are going dark gray. There we go. That's a little bit better. So again, we're stepping down. We had our pure black. We're doing dark gray, and then we'll go a little bit lighter from there. And again, going from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. You're doing a great job. Proud of you for painting at home. All right, we're going to take this dark gray. We are going to fill this middle one in. And then we're going to make a little bit lighter shade of gray. So again, what I call perimeter mixing, grabbing some of that white, putting it on the side, making a new blob, and then slowly pulling in some of the dark gray into the lighter white. So again, we have our steps: dark, darkest, a little bit lighter, and then we'll go a little bit lighter on the next one. And again, just working our way across. And again, remember to breathe, relax. If you are holding your breath, just laugh at yourself. Nothing's wrong with that. The more that you paint, the more comfortable you get with the process. That's why practice makes you better. All right, going one more shade lighter. So I grabbed another blob of the white, going right on the edge, and filling in this last section. And we're actually going to keep moving our shades down because we're going to be moving into our light. So we've got super medium gray, light gray, and then almost pure white. So when I actually picked this photo, I really liked the distinct coloration of the Tybee Lighthouse, but I don't think I realized till now what an awesome value scale lesson this is. All right, so with this gray, we're actually going to fill in this rectangle up here. This would be where the light's coming from for our lighthouse. And as we continue, I do recommend that you get out of your chair, look at your painting from a distance of 5 to 10 feet away, and just start assessing it and what it looks like from that distance. And that is the normal viewing distance for most things in life, and especially artwork. So now we're going to move into this center section, and again, we're creating this illusion of a round object. So for a white canvas, we can't just leave it white, so we're going to go in a little bit lighter on our gray. So putting that white next to that last gray we were just using and going a step lighter. Then I'm going to start on that right-hand side. We're just going to make a strip. Then I'm going to grab more white. Let's go a little bit lighter from there. Going right next to that strip. And these are really subtle, super light shades, so they may be a little harder to discern the difference from. And then now, I'm actually just going to grab pure white and fill in the rest of the space on the left or right-hand side of our lighthouse. And as you're looking at it, if maybe you realize, oh, those were pretty close, if you can't see as much of a distinction, I want a bit more of a distinction on that left-hand side. So I'm going to go back up to my medium gray. Since I already have them made, I can go back and grab it again. And we're going to do a little bit of that wet on wet blending just because I want to go a little bit darker right here. So laying that color in, wipe off that excess, and then right where the two colors, that darker gray and the medium gray meet, just slight pressure, blend those two. All right, so we're actually going to go to black paint now. We're going to put the top of our lighthouse on. We've got our bottom house here. Let's start with the bottom house. And this one's only going to be partially black, about half of it's black, and then we'll fill the other with the dark gray. And then right here, we're going to give a little cap on our lighthouse. So literally just making a line right across the top. And this little guy actually just has a little dot on the center of his hat. All right. And again, because we already have our colors made, if yours are already dried out and you need to make your dark gray again, just make it again. Just pull some of that black aside and add a touch of white. And you can kind of use this as a comparison to make sure you get your color kind of close. So taking that dark gray, filling in the rest of that house. And then we've got a nice red roof for this little house, and we'll put some trees in. All right. And let's see. Oh, nice, Jen. Glad you have a friend in Savannah. I spent almost 6 years there. I loved it. And Gwen, you're close enough to Tybee Island, so yeah, I can go visit Savannah. Awesome. And hi, Thelma. Thanks for jumping on. And Baik. I'm not sure if I pronounced your name right. I'm not quite sure what your comments actually mean. All right, so we're going to move into red paint. And we're going to fill in the roof here. And I'm just using that direct red by itself. If your red is a slightly different shade, maybe it's a little more orange, maybe it's a little bit cooler, that's okay. If you ever want to switch it up and make your own lighthouse color, if you want to make it a yellow roof, anything, you have full permission to do that. All right, and again, just applying that on there a little bit thicker. All right, and we are going to move back up to the bigger brush. We're going to put, or our medium flat brush. We're going to put some foliage here at the base of our horizon line, and then we do have a little bit of a palm tree here and a small palm tree here. Not sure if we'll add, we'll wait till the end, but if you look up any pictures of the Tybee Island Lighthouse, there is actually a little white picket fence that goes straight across right here. So if you want to add that, I'll talk about that at the end if I don't add it. All right, so for our foliage, I want this to be a little bit darker than what I used for the grass. So I'm starting with the green, adding the yellow, just kind of the reverse mixture. And this particular application of our foliage is very stress relieving. We've done it in other videos, and it's literally going to be a stabbing method. And I am just kind of slightly moving my brush, twirling it a little bit as I make this foliage. And if you have any frustrations, take it out on the painting. It's very therapeutic. And it is in Georgia, so it's like they have a whole lot of super high foliage. So it is fairly flat and low to the ground. All right, so we've kind of got our base on there. I do want some variation, so I'm going to grab that direct green and just kind of sporadically, same application. Oh, and actually we don't have any on that side. All right. Tree that's hanging out right here. I'm moving back down to the pointy brush. I'm going to make this brown a little bit darker, so I'm adding a touch of black to it. So going for kind of a dirty brown. And we're going to put the trunk in, and I usually like to start where the palm tree usually kind of ends, the trunk ends. So just going to place my brush there, about medium pressure, and then just kind of pull it down because this one actually goes off the edge of the canvas. And because my green paint is still wet, I'm going to go back over with my extra raw sienna thicker paint and go right on top of it with light pressure. And even though I am using student grade paint, you may see some thickness on the screen, but as it dries, it will. All right, and now we have kind of our branches coming off of our palm tree, the leaves. And these aren't our full-on traditional palm trees. They're a little bit shorter. So just having these almost like little spikes come off. I forgot the name of this particular palm tree, but it does have a distinct name compared to some of the other palm trees that I've painted and taught in the demos. All right, and because it usually has this extra little stalk from the prior palms of the prior years, we're going to basically add like a little, almost to the shape of a box up here, and then this is the actual trunk. And same thing, my paint is mixing a little bit with the white, or with the blue underneath. So applying it a little bit thicker, and if you're at home, just let your paint dry before you move into putting in the tree. All right, now, same thing, I'm gonna apply pretty thick our green, and these are gonna be short, choppy little brush strokes. And this palm tree has those crazy little palms that go all different directions, so really anything goes. This is a very expressive palm tree. Again, just medium to light pressure. We've got a few sticking out over here. And then we're going to do the same thing. We'll get a little bit of the yellow. A few of these that overlap. So grabbing that direct yellow, it is going to mix with that green a little bit. And this is kind of an impressionistic palm tree. We're not doing every single detail, but our brain has enough of the details to go, all right, it's a funky little palm tree. And then I want to put a shadow on that tree trunk, so taking some of that black. And again, our shadow is on the left-hand side. So placing that on there, light pressure. And then I'm going to go back. And again, I'm holding that brush kind of at that 45-degree angle. And depending on how thick or wet your paint is, you will adjust your brush strokes. All right, and then we have a little window right here. I'm going to clean that brush out, and I'm going to put a little bit of blue in there as if it is reflecting the sky. All right, and looks like, yeah, we're just now at about 30 minutes. Cool. Nice. And hi, Thaik. Hopefully I pronounced your name right. You're not annoying me. I just want to make sure I address and answer your questions appropriately, and some of the things that you type don't make sense. So, but I'm grateful that you're here. So thank you. Okay, so because my paint is still pretty wet, I am not going to be adding that little picket fence that is a signature element for Tybee Island Lighthouse. I would fully recommend let this completely dry, and then for your picket fence, it's literally just little dash marks next to each other. Each dash marks a little blade on your picket fence, and just reference a photo that you see from Google of Tybee Island, and it would overlap the base of the house. It would actually come from off the canvas, overlap the base, overlap the underneath, and then it would just kind of shoot over, probably stopping at about right this point, your little picket fence, but totally your call. And no matter what you paint, please email me photos of what you paint, whether you change it or paint exactly the same thing. Those encourage other people when I post them on social media. And it makes me happy to see your pictures. So I see a question that jumped on here asking about the Santorini in watercolors. So I had a few issues at the beginning of trying to figure out exactly how to teach the watercolors because it's not my my specialty. I am more acrylic paint and even oil paint. So I've kind of come up with the formula. I filmed 3 of them yesterday and they were really successful for how I can translate it. So the Santorini, as well as a few of the other traceables that I've done, I will be filming next week. So I am hoping at the latest by next month, I can get the Santorini out there for your watercolor demo. Because awesome that that's such a popular demo out there. So I definitely want to get that one out there quickly. All right, so a few more questions. Let's see, coming on. Where do I get your paint? In the description box below, you can see, I believe it's a supply list of kind of what I recommend. You can order off of Amazon, Dick Blick's. I order in bulk, so a lot of times I'm ordering from Jerry's Artorama, and Michael's or your local craft store. So hopefully that helps. All right, so I think that takes us into the conclusion of today's painting. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I look forward to seeing your pictures and what you send to me. And yeah, so have a great day, and I will see everybody tomorrow. I believe tomorrow is cocktail sunrise, or tequila sunrise as the cocktail. We might have to drink one while we paint that. But yeah, and if you have any comments, suggestions of what you want to paint in the future, I am keeping a current list for the new ones. And then on the main portion of the YouTube page, you can see all the future demos. So awesome. All right, you guys, have a great Monday, and I will catch up with you tomorrow. Cheers.